As we get settled in our seats, as we open our prayer books, as we have our prayer books, if you didn't get one on your way in, please feel free to step out and grab one. We will begin on page 10 with the singing of Hine Ma Tov. Indeed, how good it is to be together here in this space on this Shabbat. We come here for many reasons this Shabbat, as we do every Shabbat. Some of us are here to mourn and remember and reflect. Some of us are here in preparation of joyful events filled with family and friends. There is space for all of us, for each of us, and what we have experienced in this past week, what we are looking forward to in the week that comes. Here it is just Shabbat, a time to breathe and relax and reflect and just be. Hine Ma Tov. Another reason why we shouldn't have made our prayer books the same color. Please make sure you have a Shabbat prayer book and not a weekdays and festival ones, as I did. We turn now to page 2 for Hadlikat HaNerot, for the ritual for lighting the Shabbat candles. And on this eve of Asher becoming bar mitzvah tomorrow morning, I invite his mother, Beth Goldberg, and his sisters, Marin and Nev, to lead us in the ritual.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Page 24, Shalom Alechem.
Shalom Alechem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלכי השלום, מלכי
turn back to page 13 for Yismachu Hashamayim.
ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, ירעם הים ומלואו. ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, ירעם הים ומלואו. Yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, mai, mamai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, mai, 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 yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, mai, mamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai, mamai, yamamai, mai. השמיים ותגל הארץ, ירעם הים ומלואו. ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, ירעם הים ומלואו. יממי מי ממי, יממי מי ממי, יממי מי ממי מי ממי מי ממי, יממי מי ממי, יממי מי ממי, יממי מי ממי מי 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 מי.
Page 19. Turn the page for Lechadodi, singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, rising as we reach the final verse to welcome Shabbat.
Shamor vezachor ben
Now that we have greeted Shabbat, we take a moment to greet each other, to say hello, to introduce ourselves, to invite each other into this space. Continues on page 22 with Psalm 92.
Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat, Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat, Tov lehodot Adonai, ulzamer l'shimcha elyon, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור, עלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור, עלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. צדיק אתה אמר יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יחיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני. צורי ולא עוולת בו.
Page 26. We continue with Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא יפרח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון וביום ביכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבם מברך, לעולם ולעולמי
and rise as we are able in body and or spirit for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam vaed.
We read together at the bottom of page 30. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzivaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim.
Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, amecha ahavta. Torah umitzvot, chukim umishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, b'shochbeinu u'b'kumeinu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam vaed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu, uvahem negeh yomam v'layla. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם נאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lishyod lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
On page 39, we read responsively at the bottom of the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Adonai Yaakov, ugehalom yad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Gaal Yisrael.
Page 42, Hashki Venu. Us that God's sheltering presence is always with us. And it is during this time that we think of those in our community who are in need of our prayers for healing within this peaceful and sheltered place. On this Shabbat, we think of Lot Ackerman, Dale Anderson, Julie Arnheim, James Barrett, Michael Baseman, Les Berkowitz, Alex Botkin, Jennifer Burnau, Dina Demas, Joanne DeWitt, Ann Fahey, Jessica Fondy, Ken Franklin, Virginia Frank, Ari Gegel, David Glazer, Arya Man Harlalka, David Mordechai HaKohen, Naum Kaplan, Sylvia Kasparowski, Al Camper, Todd Cart, Isabel Leindecker, Susan Lother, Joanne Mendel, Beatrice Jean B.G. Morrison, Marco Masksara, Fred Oranger, Lev Podorobsky, Jonathan Robeson, Jason Roney, Oliver Scheibel, Nelson Shook, Bill Stein, Drew Thomasy, Helen Marie Tyree, David Wallach, Dr. Malcolm Weiss, Alan Wolk, Ruth Yar. Is there anyone to add to our Misha Beirach list this evening? We pray that God will grant to each of them a refuah shlema, a healing not only of body, but of spirit as well. Baruch atah Adonai rofei hacholim. Blessed are you, O God, who brings healing.
Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo
Page 44, Vishamru. Turn the page to the tefillah, the central part of our service, and we rise. Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Ve'elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah,
Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el hagadol hagibor ve'hanora. El Elyon gomel chasadim tovim ve'koneh hakol ve'zocher chasdei avot ve'imahot u'mevii geula lifnei v'neihem le'man shemo be'ahava melech ozer u'moshiach u'magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia Mashiv HaRuach Umorid HaGashem Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verofeh Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Micha Mocha Bal Givurot Umidom Elach Melech Meimit Umechayeh Umatmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah le'achayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei hakol Atah kadosh v'shemcha hakadosh U'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. We continue at the top of page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 57. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod.
Amen.
Page 59. Together. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha olcha na'eh lehodot.
We now continue with silent prayer.
How they can be used for good and for bad, how they can divide us or bring us together, how they can weaken tenuous ties or further fortify already strong connections. I think we can all agree that words are powerful. They can be seen on a written page. They can be heard as part of a formal presentation or in casual conversation. Words can also be felt. As we know all too well, a multitude of emotions comes from words: pain, comfort, sadness, joy, and so on. And yet, words are not just for communication. Here comes my cough drop. I get a choice. Okay. Words are not just for communication. They are tools for creating. Last Shabbat, we read the story of creation when God's first creation, light, came into being. God said, "V'yomer Adonai Yehiyeh or Vahi or." And God said, "Let there be light," and you know the rest, what came next? There was light, right. God said, "Let there be light." There was light. God spoke and created light out of nothingness. God's words set the universe in motion. The idea that words can create a new reality carries over into many aspects of Jewish law and tradition. Consider, for example, a Jewish wedding ceremony. What makes the marriage a legal marriage? It's not the ketubah, the marriage contract. It's not the presence of the chuppah, the marriage canopy. It's not the breaking of the glass at the end of the ceremony. According to traditional Jewish law, a relationship becomes a marriage when before at least two witnesses, the couple exchanges rings and says words of consecration to each other. Only then, through the uttering of sacred words, does a new legally binding relationship exist. It's created. This may help us to understand one of the ways in which we are created in God's image. Like God, we create through words. Yet while God creates the natural world through words, we create our social world through them, using language to name our surroundings and fellow human beings, to establish relationships, and to articulate the basic concepts that give our lives order. Our words fill unfathomable amounts of documents, books, scripts, greeting cards, pieces of scrap paper, songs, poems, social media posts. To get an idea of humanity's creativity with words, I discovered that a Google Books study from earlier this year noted that there have been 129,864,880 books published since the invention of Gutenberg's printing press in 1440. Wow. Wow. But words don't always create connection. Sometimes, as we know, words divide and separate. This is the case in this week's Torah portion. Ironically, on the heels of God's tremendous creation with words, our ancestors fail to follow God's example. I am referring to the story near the end of the portion, the story of the Tower of Babel. In 11 short verses, the community goes from one unified people to many different peoples scattered over the earth, and words are at the heart of the problem. We are told that everyone on earth had the same language and the same words, and they said to each other, "Come, let us build a city and a tower with its top in the sky to make a name for ourselves, else we shall be scattered all over the world." It would seem that they were concerned with self-preservation. Without an impressive tower built high in the sky, they thought they risked being unnamed and unknown. So, what's the big deal? The commentators suggest that their intent was not as innocuous as it seems. The Midrash tells us that the people doubted God's greatness and wondered why they too could not become gods. This becomes apparent if we look at an alternate translation of the word Shem, name. They were trying to make a name for themselves. But sometimes Shem can also be used to mean God or a God. This is how the text would then read. We are told that everyone on earth had the same language and the same words. And they said to each other, "Come, let us build a city and a tower with its top in the sky to make a god of ourselves." The people thought they could become like God. If they worked together to build a tower that reached God's realm, they too would have divine abilities. Thus, the words they spoke were overconfident, self-inflating, degrading, and offensive to others, and most importantly, challenging to God's authority. In the story, God notices the tower and says, "If as one people with one language for all, this is how they have begun to act, then nothing they may propose to do will be out of their reach." God realizes that the very words and language that unites the people ultimately will destroy their relationship with God. Create connection, don't. Words that could unify only serve to divide and separate. It is at this point that God disperses the people, confounding their language so they can no longer communicate with each other. Perhaps this is an origin story for why we have different languages and cultures. Maybe. But I think it holds a greater lesson for us as we try to reclaim the language of creation. Simply put, our words matter. We have to choose to use them for good. We have to decide that we want to create and build with our words. Take, for example, the words written, spoken, posted, and felt yesterday as we remember what happened 4 years ago. With words, we created connection and opportunities to come together to remember and reflect. With words, we showed solidarity and support. Our words created shared space to comfort and hold each other as we remembered a difficult day and those we lost. We acted as God did, using our words to bring sacred light into the world. A number of years ago, I asked a group of middle school students how they create connection with words, and they came up with great stuff. They taught me that when we create with words, we give compliments, we share feelings of love, we sing and pray together, but most importantly, we speak words of kindness and support. I was impressed with them, and rightly so, I think. In these next few weeks, words will, as they always do, surround us. May we remember to use our words to create opportunities to strengthen relationships, build up our communities, and bring God's presence into our midst. May we use our words to create holy connections. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with the Aleinu as we turn to page 282 and we rise.
Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו
page 294. On this Shabbat, we remember those who are recently deceased: Velma Vitti Friedman, Jackie Student, Betsy Friedberg, Philip Hirsch Rubin, Judah Samet, and Jean Simon. And we link to their names those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of their death, occurs during this week: Miriam Cantor, Ruth Fulmer Cham, Edith Donnenberg, Robert L. Feldman, Bernard Furman, Herbert Kaufman, Alan S. Landay, Adele Layton, William Lichtenstuhl, Marcia Lucenti, Frank Markovsky, Boris Mogilevsky, Phyllis Oster, A.M. Palm, Stephanie Cooperman Parker, Albert I. Raisman, Lila Rosenthal Snyder, Joel Safier, Alex Seed, Isaac Sarens, Dorothy Dina Svarti, A. Raymond Shook, Lester R. Smith, Lois Summers, Rebecca Swartz, Norman Weiner, Bill Weisberger, Miriam Yar. And we add to those names those we lost on October 27th of 2018. Joyce Feinberg, Richard Gottfried, Rose Mallinger, Jerry Rabinowitz, Cecil Rosenthal and David Rosenthal, Bernice Simon and Sylvan Simon, Daniel Stein, Melvin Wax, Irving Younger. Is there anyone else to add to our yahrzeit list this evening? Thank you. Zichronan livracha, may their memories be for blessing. Yit gadal v'yikadash may rabba, v'yalmad divarach pirote, v'yamlich malchute, v'chayachon v'yomechon, d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabba mivarach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah b'richu leila minko birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'hakol Yisrael v'imru amen. V'aseh shalom v'imromav Huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'akol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen.
Please be seated. Again, I thank you for your patience, and I'm also just pleased that I'm sharing the bima with Sarah Nadler and Sean Nimmo, who are amazing and creating beautiful music. And it's lovely to be here hearing the both of you together. So thank you. A few quick announcements. The most important one, of course, is that we hope you'll join us tomorrow morning as Asher becomes bar mitzvah. He's looking a little nervous there, but we'll get you up here in a minute to do Kiddush and Motzi. There are a number of things happening here in the next couple of weeks. You will be receiving information about them in the Shalomogram, but two things to note. First of all, that COSA, the Community Outreach and Social Action Committee, is launching its Share the Warmth project. So beginning next weekend on November 6th, please bring in jackets, coats, gloves, scarves, mittens, anything warm that you can, hats, thank you, hats, anything you could spare that might go to a family in need can be dropped off during JJEP starting at 11. And also, just a reminder that elections are on November 8th, and I hope that everyone is planning to vote either in person or will get your ballot in the mail by the November 1st deadline. With that said, I think and also a big thank you to Luke, who, I'm sorry, Luke, I turned my microphone off at some point. I know, I tried. But he makes us look good and sound good. So we conclude this part of our service with Ki Eshmera Shabbat on page 330. Kiddush can be found on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, b'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava uvratzon, chinchi lanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher litziat mitzrayim, ki vanu v'charta ve'otanu kiddashta mikol ha'amim, V'shabbat kodshecha be'achava ufratzon chinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh Shabbat. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, chomotzi lechem mi'cha'aretz. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.